Hi everybody. So as many of you have asked, I'm back with another video. I'm going to walk you through all the things Hobonichi. I've been a Hobonichi girl since 2016, and I thought I'd show you all the different versions I've used. I've got the weeks, I've got the A6, I've got the cousin, I've got the avec. Covers galore, so this might be a long video. I might end up splitting it into two, but I thought we'd see where this goes, and I just thought I'd share with you all the different things that I've used and loved in Hobonichi in the past, goodness, 4 years now. I also am planning a video to show you guys what I'm going to be using in 2021. I am embracing all things Hobonichi again, so I'm excited to show you that as well in the coming weeks. So anyway, let's get started. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way so I can have a little bit of organization and walk you through some things. So let me clean up some of this mess. We can start with looking at my very first Hobonichi that I ever used. Okay, so this one is the very first one I ever used, and my friend Amy was kind enough to send me one that she had that she wasn't using to try it out back when she first got me started on the addiction that is Hobonichi. And this was a spring cousin. I don't even remember what year it was officially. Oh, 2016 spring cousin. I didn't start it until July or August, so this one and 2017 were probably the two that I used the most. Like, I just dove in the deep end of Hobonichi and just really used the heck out of it. So I thought I'd start here and show you what I have done the most in, and then show you kind of how things have evolved a little bit in some of my later planners. I was always a ring planner. I've been a planner girl since high school, but most of my professional career I used ring planners. And so one of the things that Amy talked to me about with using something like this was that it was bound. You have a record. You don't have to fight with the rings, all of that. The one thing I've struggled with over the last 4 years between using a bound planner and a ring planner, and part of why the last couple of years I've been flip-flopping back and forth, is I miss the flexibility to be able to stick stuff in, move things around, the fact that there's a limited number of pages in here, and you know, when you have a lot of stuff that you want to track over the course of a year, you kind of run out of space. In reality, I could probably make it work, especially as I was looking through this one. I realized I did make it work. So my challenge for myself for 2021 is to stay in the Hobonichi planner system all year. Now, which planner that is remains to be seen. I have thoughts, which I'll share with you in another video. So let's dive into this one. So what I did here, this was, like I said, the very first one. So I was kind of getting to know the planner with this one. So in this section here, I used it a lot for forward planning, and I color coded. So everything for my older daughter was purple, everything for the kids' school was orange, my younger daughter was pink, my husband was blue. Generally speaking, that was the idea. I had thought about using this to kind of track vertically, but I found that I was writing all the way across, so that didn't happen. So then the monthlies, let me just flip forward. You know, I just, like I said, I dove in. I was a Cocoa Daisy subscriber, still am a Cocoa Daisy subscriber, and so I use the washi and stickers and things like that to kind of pretty up the pages. And these little monster stickers, which I love. And when I first found them, I think I bought like 10 packs, so I have monster stickers for days. But you can see it really was just forward planning, big picture stuff. That's how I've always used my monthlies ever since I had a Franklin Covey planner and took the class years and years and years ago. That's what they taught. This, you can see too, I color coded. So this one I color coded with pen. This one I discovered mild liners, and so I started color coding with mild liners. Again, blue was my husband, purple was one daughter, pink was the other daughter, this teal color was me, church was a different color. You know, I just tried it that way. I liked it and I didn't like it. I liked because it was easy to glance to see who was who. I didn't like it because it made the pages really busy. Of course, this one, I just went absolutely crazy with the stickers because I love these little foxes and owls they had that month. So yeah, that's what my monthlies look like. Not a whole lot of difference year to year, actually. And so then moving on into the weekly view, this is really where I did the most, you know, like blocking off time. And you'll see in this one, I use this for everything. I use this for work. I use this for personal. I had everything mixed together in one planner. And I'll show you that on some of the daily pages in the back as well. So, you know, these were work meetings that I had. This is drop off and pick up for school for the kids. This was meals. I've always tracked the meals. I would draw in a little tracker down here. This is where my meal planning was, which apparently... Okay, so try this again. I'm sorry. I got interrupted there by my husband calling and my cat's trying to kill the dogs. So we'll start this all over again. Anyway, as I was saying, my trackers are down here. I have my meal planners here. For some reason, I had it on a Post-it note too. And then you can see I had split work and personal to-dos here. And then I would also write things that had to be done on a particular day down in the weekly view. So yeah, lots of color. I was just really, like I said, trying to embrace it, dive in deep, and just do as much as I could to see if I could make this work, which I really liked, actually, and I used it for a long time. Here, I switched up from having the top and bottom lines for my times to just doing the lines from the beginning to end. I liked that better. It wasn't quite so busy. Then I went back and I just kind of flip-flopped back and forth for several months here. But you can see I used the heck out of this. Lots and lots of it. It's pretty much the same format. Every month here. And then in the dailies, let me flip back over here to the dailies just to show you. Because this was the spring, it actually started in, I think, April. And so what I did was I wanted to start using it immediately, and I had been using a bullet journal prior to this, and so I was worried, that was one of the things I was worried about, was not having enough space for all my notes. So what I did was I just redated it. And so I started with August here, and I made myself some stickers for the date of the week. I used this page for meal planning, keeping track of what I had in the freezer so I didn't forget to pull anything out. And I had my to-dos at the top, my schedule here, tracking my meals and notes. These were mostly work notes. And then anything work related that I needed to remember, I would just paste it in. Here I had a scripture that I wanted to remember. And then I started using the timeline over here, making some notes. I am not artistic. You will see there's no art in here. I'm not artistic. I never tried to be artistic. That's just not me. But I did draw occasionally something very basic like this just to make a note of something. Notes at the bottom tended to be what I used the bottom of the page for. Yeah, this was pretty much how I used it, and you can see I just redated. I wrote August here over the month, and different stickers to indicate the day. Here is where I was trying to give myself a weekly view with right in the week. I didn't like this for a couple reasons. One, because the Cocoa Daisy paper is very thick, which is a beautiful thing, but it's very thick compared to the Tomoe River paper, so I didn't like having that weight. In here, again, more stuff I tipped in. This was a quote I loved. This was some meetings that I had coming up that I didn't want to forget. This was a trip I was taking, so when I made my travel plans, I printed this out and taped it in here so I had everything on the week that I needed it. Notes, journaling, lots of tip-ins, mostly functional. There were some pictures. I started to really try to make this, you know, an all-in-one, everything in one place. Lots of meeting notes for work. And here, you know, this I actually took 2 days, 2 pages for one day. You can see Thursday 9/8, 9/8 continued. And I just covered up the date. That was very freeing. So then I went to the 9th, then I went to the weekend. More pictures that I taped in. But it was nice because I didn't have to worry about, I just used the next page. Whatever page I was on, I just flipped to the next page. It was very, very much like a bullet journal in that respect. Lots of pictures and things like that. So that was the very first one. And you can see, I just can't even remember how far I went. This is October. I think I probably finished the year out, November. I think I finished the year out in this. I think when the new Hobonichis started, the next year is when I moved out of this book. So this one I used from August until December of 2016. And here's where I was just playing around with some watercolors. Again, like I said, I am not artistic. Not my thing. So that was the first one. Then in 2017, I jumped into a cousin. And actually, you'll see this is another spring cousin because I started out trying the Avec. And this is when I kind of had a little, I guess, wobble because I liked the Avec, but I was used to the thickness of the cousin. You can see how chunky this one got because of all the stuff I had tipped in and taped in. And so originally I got the Avec version thinking that this would give me a lot thinner profile. Together, I guess they're about the same when they're finished, but you know, each one 6 months. So I started out with this, then I moved into this. So between the 3 books is 2017. I know somebody's going to ask about these tabs. I made them myself on my silhouette. I think it's a silhouette that I have. And then I just put packing tape over them to stick them onto the page really firmly. And I actually have been using that same cut file for several years. So this was my 2017. And I liked putting all these things at the front. You can see here I had some post-it notes where I would mark month, week, and day to make it easy to reference. Not a whole lot of difference here in terms of how I used. It's all very similar in terms of the setup. The one thing I did here is I used my washi tape on the month when the month changed to mark the month so I could see at a glance at the spine where the months were. So that was one thing that I did a little different in this one, and I liked. But pretty much the format was consistent. I started trying to figure out how to make the most of the monthly, the page in the front. This was when I was trying to use a tracker. I've never been good at trackers like this, big picture trackers on a monthly basis. I do better weekly. I just forget to look at them. But here's where I started trying to use one, and this was out of another planner system that I just put on copy paper and glued it in. Here's where I was trying to be artistic. Remember, I'm not artistic. So this one, pretty much the same, just mostly notes and to-dos, that kind of stuff, not a whole lot of difference. In the back, I started taping in things like a list of meals we love. I had bill tracking back here, had the kids' school schedule, that kind of stuff, just to make it easy. I started journaling more than anything in here for a while. Then in the second half, you can see this one I use pretty heavily because it's pretty thick. Same kind of thing. Matter of fact, you'll start to recognize some of these because I just kept reusing the same stickers. And then in here, again, format's pretty much the same. Like, I found what worked and I stuck with it. Didn't change a whole lot. Mostly journaling in this version. This was like a program from a ball game we went to. That's why it's stuck in here. But this one I did a lot of journaling and had moved my planning out into something else. And then this was the spring cousin. I thought I wanted to try going back into a big cousin and use the Avec for journaling and memorabilia, and this more for planning. So again, same kind of forward planning stuff. And then, you know, the months were much more streamlined, less sticker heavy, and more just functional. Also kind of toned down the color a little bit, Then if you look at the weeks, still using my meals here, trackers here. And you'll see though that most of this is personal. So at this point I had moved into a work bullet journal and was using a separate book for that. I had an Enigma that I was using, which I would show you, but I can't because it has a lot of confidential stuff in it. But I have been using those for 4 years now. So that's pretty much what the weeks looks like. This particular, we were at the beach. So rather than putting anything there, because we weren't going to be doing, you know, anything other than playing at the beach, I just stuck a picture on the page, which I love. Every time I turn to that page, it brings back memories of the trip. Yeah, so here's pretty much what it looked like. Not a whole lot of difference. And then going into the dailies here, a lot of journaling, mostly just journaling. And I was kind of flip-flopping, like I said, between the Avec and this one. So it's kind of splotchy in here as to what I was doing when and where. So that was 2017. Then you fast forward to 18, pretty much the same. This is when I started flip-flopping between rings and the Hobonichis, so the dailies are pretty sparse. And I was using this more of a record. Then in 2019, I was like, you know, I really need to do a better job because I love this planner. And so this one I did a lot more in terms of planning and sticking pictures in, just trying to make it, you know, my one planner again. I always start out the year strong with good plans, and then I kind of go sideways throughout the year. So here's, again, I was back to tipping stuff in. This was a sermon note or a training that I went to. To-dos to-dos were down here, dinner, schedule, journaling, and I was using some stamps, which I have mixed feelings about because you can see the shadowing through, but I tried it. So that was 2019, and again, I kind of fell off the wagon there towards the end of the first half of the year. The second half was even worse in terms of not using it a whole lot. I started strong, and then I kind of squirreled, as I like to say. And then 20 was just a train wreck in general. So you can see I did good up until COVID hit, and then it was just a mess. So yeah, that's the A6, or excuse me, the A5 story. Now, as far as covers that I used for the A5, I have several. The very first one I used was a Chic Sparrow. This is a creme cover, and I absolutely love it, except for that it's heavy as all get out because it's a very thick leather, but it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I would tuck the cover back here. I didn't use the strings, and I really, really like it. And as long as my planner stays on my desk and doesn't go anywhere, it's great. But as far as taking it with me anywhere, it's just way too heavy. This is a Giglio Appunto in the chocolate brown or dark brown. I absolutely, positively love this planner. I will never sell it. I will never get rid of it. This, to me, is just the ultimate in beauty and sophistication. In terms of a planner cover, it's been all over the world with me, and I'll keep it forever. This is another one that I love. This is a Foxy Fix that I bought secondhand, and I like it because it's very slim and thin, And you'll see I added some pockets because that was the only thing that I didn't like, was the fact that I didn't have enough pockets. So I glued some pockets in, or used, these are Midori pockets. That one's a Dollar Spot pocket. And then I put a pin loop on the pocket so that I didn't mess up the leather, which is kind of silly because the stickers will mess up the leather if somebody ever pulls them off, but I won't ever pull them off. This is perfect for the Avec version because it's very slim and trim. These are much better for the bigger cousin size, although this works great for the Avec also. It's just a little roomier. And then this is another one I got from someone in the UK. I don't think you can read this, but it's Luna Blue, L-U-N-A-B-L-U-E bags. And she made this for me, and I really like it. The only thing negative I would say is the pin loop is really tiny. But I like this too in terms of slimness. This is great with the Avec, and it's really light because it's fabric. And she has all kinds of beautiful fabrics, and we'll do customs for you. I have another one that I couldn't put my hands on before I started filming that she had done for me as a custom. So yeah, these are pretty much the ones I use for my A5. I also have a clear cover on cover that I use occasionally and just stick scrapbook paper in. So that's the A5. Now let's talk about A6, because there's a whole nother story there. So I started out using one. This is 2017. This is in English, and this is you see it's chunk. I just journaled, and I kept it by my bed, and every night before I would go to sleep I would just write. And the thing that was nice about it, because I'm not a journaler, is that this was just a small page to fill up. And some days I didn't even fill the page. Some days I just stuck stuff in that either went with the story or not. Some days I didn't feel like writing, so I didn't. And this is where I was trying to remind myself for later, because I didn't write. That's the journaling I got that day now, because this is 3 years ago. So yeah, this was pretty much the whole year, which I'm really proud of myself that I did this. And looking back, really glad that I took the time to write in here every day. These were some pictures that I was going to stick down and just never got to sticking them down, so maybe I'll go back and finish. But yeah, that was 2017. That was my journal. And then these are all of the, well, not all. These are a sampling, because I have the Avecs from 2017 forward. And I just thought I'd show you how I use these. So I flip-flopped back and forth between the A5 and the A6. Okay, so yet another interruption. Back again. So anyway, this is the 17, and I think what I was saying is that I flip-flopped back and forth between the A6 and the A5 size because I liked the portability of this and the idea of the portability of this, but I really liked the space of the A5 for just, feeling like you had breathing room. So for a while, I kind of did double dipping, and this was more of like my on-the-go things I needed to know, quick and dirty, keep it in my purse kind of thing. So just some samples here where, and this really is quick and dirty. I didn't try to make it pretty. I didn't do a lot of stickers. This was just pen only. I did use stamps to mark like where I was doing dinner, and I had a pill one to remind me of my vitamins and supplements that I was taking. It is very much about just getting it done. I color-coded notes to try to help make things jump out. Very minimal in terms of stickers. And this worked really well, actually. This was where I was trying to do a week at a glance. I did use the weekly supplement, but y'all, this thing is so tiny that it's really hard to write in here. I'm not a small writer, and this was just really difficult. I was trying to replicate what I had in the A5, and this just was very difficult. I used it, but I didn't like it. So anyway, this was just a picture of, here's my beautiful artwork for the solar eclipse. Like I said, I'm not artistic. This was something else I want to show you. I started using this page as a way in both the A5 and the A6 to track my goals or my things I wanted to do that month. I don't necessarily call them goals. It was more like an ongoing to-do list. And there's also stuff to remember, like, you know, a retreat that my kids were on. These tabs I purchased on Etsy. I don't even think the shop is still around, but they were okay. I think that's when I decided to make my own. Again, just pretty much just a little bit of stickers, mostly just pen and highlighter. Yeah, so the A6 works. You'd be surprised at how much you can fit on one of these little bitty pages. And I honestly, in some cases, did the same thing in the A5 and was surprised that I could fit pretty much everything I had in an A5 page in one of these little guys. 2018, I used it kind of back and forth. Same thing in 2019. And then 2020, I started out the year saying this was going to be my planner for the year, the A6, and I used it, but I kept going back to the rings, so that's why you see gaps, that was where I was in the rings. And then COVID hit and the world went upside down, and I went back into my rings pretty much the whole summer. And then, and I was in a personal rings. And then I wanted to use my Hobonichi, but I wanted the flexibility of the rings. So I did this. And I ripped out the pages, the signatures, which actually was surprisingly easy to do. Just cut the threads. And I hole punched them. And I put them in my A6 rings that I have. And I actually really liked that. It was kind of like the best of both worlds to do it that way. I did all of August and September and then part of November. October, I was trying some other inserts just to see if I wanted to do this again for next year or buy inserts or print my own inserts. But that's what made me really start to feel like I was missing the Hobonichi paper and the style, and even though the flexibility of the rings was really nice, I missed the bound book. So that's probably why I won't be doing that again next year. And then as far as covers, this is my favorite A6 cover of all time. I bought this one used. It's one of the leather covers, and I just love how it feels. I actually have this exact same cover in black leather in A5 that I use for work. I think I have it tucked up under my desk somewhere because I use it for my work bullet journal. And my ribbons came off, and my mom helped me fix the ribbons back on here, so that's why this is up here. But anyway, I love this so much. It's from 2016. The same person sold me their A6 and their A5, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're getting rid of these. I have the blue with the cover on cover, and the red and chocolate, which I'm not a big fan of these, especially with the plastic cover. I don't really like, they're just stiff. I think if I used them more, they'd probably loosen up. But if I was going like on a trip or something, I'd probably use one of these rather than risk something happening to my leather. This is another cover. This is just a little cheap plastic cover that I use. And this, what I did with this is when I was in the Avec, and I'd be right at the end of May, ready to switch over to, or end of June, ready to switch over to the next one, I would put a new one in this so I could carry both together for the things that I had to do as they crossed over. Another cover that I have that I really, really like is this one that I got that's a Foxy Fix. I think it's black cherry. I don't think they make it anymore. It's a little bit thicker leather, but oh my gosh, it just feels so nice, and I think it's so pretty. It has the crisscross pockets, and yeah, this one's probably my favorite besides the black. And then, you know, this was a little notebook that I was using to put notes in. This is where I was trying to make the A6 work, and so I had this like for my collections like you would for a bullet journal, and I would just stick it in here, which worked pretty well, actually. You know, my big hang up about Hobonichi is I'm an all-in-one book kind of girl, and so it bugged me to feel like I had to have a separate notebook to have those things in it because I didn't have enough room in the A6s. And then, of course, if you've watched my other video, you've seen my weeks, which you haven't seen this week's because this is my new Mega, and I'll show you this in another video and how I'm using this. But this is, my Mega is going to be how I try to do all-in-one, I think. So I'll show you that one another time. This is a cover that I have for Moterm. So yeah, okay, I think that's everything I wanted to show you with all of the Hobonichi madness. I can't even pick up all the A5s because they've fallen all over the floor. So if I had to pick one, I don't know if I could do it, honestly. There are things about all of these that I love. I love the space of the A5, and I call it breathing room. I just feel like I have plenty of room to stretch out in those. I love the compactness of the A6 and the fact that I can throw this in my purse and there's not very much, or, you know, this in my purse, and there's not very much space. And I'm one of those kind of people that I feel naked if I don't have my planner with me. So I love that about this. The same thing with the weeks. You know, I like the fact that it's compact. The only thing I don't like about the weeks is I don't have a day at a view, unless I do a bullet journal style day in the back. So I don't think I could pick just one, and judging by my buying patterns for the last 4 years, I haven't picked just one yet. So I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I have a few more videos planned. I would love to hear your thoughts, what your favorite version of the Hobonichi is. Is it a Weeks? Is it an A5? Is it an A6, an Avec, or the big fat Mac Daddy cousin? And I will be sharing my 2021 setup with you guys in another video, as well as some other thoughts around pens and some other things I have up my sleeve. So thanks you guys for encouraging me to do this. We'll see where it goes. I don't plan to just talk about Hobonichis either. I thought I would share with you some of my ring planners and things that worked well in those, as well as my bullet journals. So we'll see where this goes. As long as it's fun, I'll keep doing it. Take care. Merry Christmas. I hope you guys all have a good holiday. This video probably won't be posted before Christmas, but it is Christmas Eve as I'm filming it. And I will talk to you guys in 2021.